Hi, everyone. This is Miss Wilson, and I wanted to go over the presentation expectations in this video. I think sometimes hearing my voice or hearing my input on what you have to do is helpful for a lot of students. So I'm going to go to a share screen here, and this is the potential employer presentation. So I've got it pulled up in big font on my screen here, at least it should be. Let me close those out so that you can see pretty well. Basically, the rationale, why do we have this presentation? I'm not the only instructor that requires it. It's required throughout the department. We have to do presentations in leadership skills class because we feel it's an important skill. Practicing communication skills just in general is an important skill for our students. So I'm not the only instructor. All instructors for the APLED 1, 2, 3 classes, we all require presentations. Many instructors require 3. I only require 2, and I kind of narrow it down to what I feel is like the utmost importance here. So the purpose is, we know that some of you may want to start your own businesses when you finish, but probably more than likely you'll end up working for an employer first before you're able to get your business launched. And then some of you might have other career goals where you really do want to work for a big company out there or a small company locally, whatever, when you graduate. So we want you to start preparing for that. One of the first job interview questions, typically they'll ask you to come in and introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself. Almost always they'll follow that question by asking you, so what do you know about our company, or what made you apply for our company, or what do you know about? And so having a practice experience of researching a company you really do want to work for and being prepared to kind of design that type of answer, being able to say like, well, I want to work for Toyota because I know that some of the benefits that are offered are A, B, and C. I know you guys hire roughly, X thousand employees all over the world, and you have different locations, not only here in Spokane, but also here and here and here. The more you're able to tell them about their company, why you've considered applying for their company, why you're there for that interview, the better. Okay. So the way that this has been designed is to help you ultimately prepare for seeking a job with an employer. And even after you finish this, if you decide, I'm not really feeling it with Toyota or whatever company you've chosen, that's okay. It's still a good practice experience. Some of you are like, nope, I'm not working for anyone. I'm only going to own my own business. This is not helpful in any way. But really, it's still a good practice experience. It's something that just in case you need to, kind of what to do to prepare prior to any interview that you do, even if it's an interview at Safeway, which I hope none of you are planning to work at Safeway after you graduate. It's fine. It's a fine store if you want, but even if you're interviewing at Safeway, even if you're interviewing at Jack in the Box, you still need to kind of look them up a little bit prior to the interview and just find out a little bit about them before you walk into that interview room. Okay. So for this assignment, you're going to research a leading employer, and it's, hopefully one that you're interested in, maybe working for at some point, if not right after you graduate, maybe later on down the line. Or at least just have some sort of interest in. You need to have your rough draft. I've got it set for the Thursday, May 13th at 11:59 p.m. for this section. If you're watching and you are in a different section, just make sure you pay attention to that assignment sheet. So for example, for this class, I'm probably going to extend your deadline on Canvas by just a couple of extra days to give you more time if you need it. And then you'll see in this section the dates that we are going to do presentations. And if you're in a specific sections of the class, you'll be getting emails from me about that, or hearing in-class announcements if you're in an on-ground class. So all assignments need to include research from at least 3 outside sources, and they need to have at least 2 specific references to the textbook. So there's also some caution here. You don't have to have academic sources per se, but we do want to avoid Wikipedia and about.com. We don't know who the authors are for those. It's just random information that's posted by people who don't even name themselves. We want to try to also limit how much we pull from social media, unless it's, let's say Toyota has a Facebook page or an Instagram page. I'm sure they do, and you pull it from the company's page. Or in some cases, you might want to go to Indeed.com and look at reviews that former employees have posted. I've worked for Toyota before. I'm using Toyota as my example, by the way. I've worked for Toyota before for 10 years. Here's what my experience was like. I gave them 4 out of 5 stars or whatever. And you're using their commentary, you'll at least almost always have like a first name, this is Johnny Q in Arkansas who's saying this or whatever, so that you can give credit to where your information came from. Some students get a little bit confused about the specific references to the textbook part. And I do want to point out there that those can come from anywhere. They don't have to be the chapters that we've looked at so far. Anywhere in your textbook, you can pull references. Oftentimes you'll find some good terms to use when it's talking about corporate culture, or when it's talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion in that chapter. There's quite a few chapters where it talks about team building and establishing a corporate culture and this and that. There's plenty of terms that you could pull in, and then you just talk about, one of the things I like about Toyota is the fact that they really have a nice corporate culture where they emphasize the importance of every person contributing to their teams or whatever, and they reward this type of performance. They have a performance-based merit system or whatever. You can bring in a term from the book, but talk about it in a way that applies to Toyota. You do need to do a PowerPoint unless you get specific approval from me to do something different. I do give that sometimes. I do occasionally give approval for students to have an alternate format, but it needs to be approved in advance. Any type of alternate format, if you do an alternate format versus a PowerPoint, you need to have a written document that goes with it. So it's still a good bit of work either way. Okay. Here's the best part of it. These questions are laid out in such a way that you can just create a slide per question. So that's what I recommend students do. Create a title slide. Hello, my name this is a presentation about Toyota, why I want to work for Toyota by Jenny Wilson or whatever. And then you move into answering these questions. So I advise students that you probably will need at least one question per slide. So you have your question, and you don't have to have the questions on the slide per se, but you literally just have to have a slide that tells us the answer to each of these questions. So I advise there's 7 of these. You at least ideally need to have 7 slides. You'll see further down on the assignment sheet, like you need a minimum of 5 slides to pass, but hopefully most of you are aiming for a little bit higher than passing, right? So you'll need at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to answer each of these questions on your slides in order to get credit. And then after that, you need a works cited slide where you document the websites and sources where the information came from. So ideally, title slide, that's 1, 7 questions. So that's 7 plus the title slide, that's 8. Back slide at the end that's got your works cited, that's 9. So 9 slides roughly. So I tell students, 9 or 10 slides is usually pretty good. Okay. Significant visuals are worth 30 points. You need at least 1 per slide, ideally, or a link to a website that includes visuals. So even if you have a slide that doesn't have any pictures directly on it, but you got a link where you can kind of real quick take us to Toyota's website and they've got plenty of pictures on there, that's fine with me. But make sure that you do have some visuals on those slides. Have to have an inclusion of a works cited page at the end where you document where did your information come from. Tell us where your information came from, and there's a way to do that at the end of this assignment sheet. Minimum of 5 slides is required to pass, but a minimum of 10 slides is strongly recommended. And like I said, you can probably get by with 9. But again, I'm just trying to encourage you to get a good grade, to get an A grade. You need to be aiming for not the minimum 5, right? More like 10, okay, to get a good grade, okay? And sometimes when you're talking about different jobs that you're interested in, that's a good way to have like maybe 2 slides that talk about jobs that are offered and what specific jobs you're interested in. There might be 2 or 3 jobs you're interested in. You have a couple slides on that one. Okay. You should plan to speak for about 8 to 10 minutes, not more than 12. I won't penalize if you go over the limit, but I will kind of like wave at you and let you know. If you do speak for less than 7 minutes, you could lose up to 30 points. Okay. So every once in a while, I might have a student who's a little bit under the 8-minute mark, but they still did a great job. They covered everything very well. So I'd leave that up to instructor discretion every once in a while, not all the time. I might have somebody who doesn't exactly make the 8-minute mark. I'm not like sitting here with a stopwatch. I do note the time when you start and when you finish, but I'm not like, oh my goodness, he was 30 seconds shy of 8 minutes. I'm not that way. But in general, from having watched a lot of these, in order to do a good thorough job, you need to spend a good 8 minutes speaking, typically a minute or so per slide, and there's 7 slides, and then taking questions at the end or whatnot. Okay. So, Also avoid any noticeable typos, spelling, punctuation, capitalization problems. There's just really obvious errors on there and it looks like you just kind of threw it together at the last minute. That's going to cost some points too. And that's why I encourage students or require students to submit a rough draft. I'm happy, I'm an English teacher by training. I'm happy to just kind of scan through your rough drafts and give you some comments and some quick fixes to make on it before you present the final. Late submissions, all of that, feel free to read that for your individual section. Hopefully that does not apply to you. But yes, there are penalties for late submissions. So to be fair to everybody, we all have the exact same amount of time to prepare our work. Extra credit, I encourage this so much. Please visit the SEC Tutoring Center. It's located in Building 1 Main. They also have online tutoring options. So if you go straight to class and then from there straight to work or straight to pick up your kids or whatever, I hear you, I'm there. But they have online tutoring options. All I have to have is proof that you've done it, and it needs to be before the final deadline. So you can't like turn in a late presentation and then go to the tutoring center late and still get the credit. It needs to be before the final deadline. And I'll show you that at the end of this call, how to get to the SEC Tutoring Center on the SEC webpage. You go to the homepage, then you click on For Our Students, and then you click on Getting Help, and then they've got tutoring like right there, and they've got several different options. You can click on whatever fits your schedule, okay? Sample works cited format, this is important. So this is that back slide when you're going to document your stuff. You need to have, if possible, a person's first and last name, the title of the article, whatever article you're reading, the name of the website in italics, and then the day, month, and year, the date in that format, and then the full URL. And I've given you an example right here below, okay? Now what happens sometimes, and I'm going to show you this on this document, what happens sometimes is you may end up with no exact author's name, right? You just go to toyota.com and Toyota doesn't really say who the author was of a specific article. So in that case, you give credit to the company or the organization. So if all I know is that Toyota wrote this article, and I'll show you that in a minute, you'd put Toyota as the author, and then you might put careers or whatever the title of the article is on their website. I'll take you to the Toyota website in a minute, and then toyota.com. I would italicize that. You may not have, in some cases, a full day, month, and year. It might just be a copyright of 2021 or 2020 or whatever, and then www. whatever, okay? So in some cases, it might be a little bit lighter. So you may not have, what I'm getting at is the exact verbatim full information that I've shown you here, right? But you can still give credit, and this helps your professor see exactly where I need to go to verify the information that you've gotten, okay? It takes me there, okay, versus just saying, oh, I got everything at this URL and it's toyota.com. Well, when you go to their website, there's like 10 different tabs I could click on to find different info. Where did you get your info? So what you'd want to do is go toyota.com careers, and maybe the careers section, and then this is the part where you would copy that entire exact link for me. But you can copy and paste a baseline. See what I've done? I've got the baseline Toyota careers here. I'm going to paste that again. And what I'm going to do this time is, let's say I go to a different tab on Toyota's website. So like making a difference, if there's a part about giving back to the community or something. You see how I've still got Toyota. It came from their website. They are the authors, even though it's not one person. It's a corporate author, company. You know, the company wrote this article or published this article anyway. But I went to a different tab, right? So this part right here would change. Still the same website, still the same copyright. This last part right here would change too, right? The exact URL that I would be copying and pasting would change a little bit as well. So I tell students not to overthink this part. Once you get a format going and you stick to that format, it's pretty easy to document the sources that you've used for this presentation. So with that, let me stop this share. I'm going to share again from the internet, and I want to show you what it would look like if I went to toyota.com, for example, so if I want to go toyota.com, they're probably going to sell me a car here. I don't want to buy a car. I want to work for them. So what do I need to do? If you just say toyota.com and that's the only thing you give your teacher to go on for where you find your information, this is not going to take me right to where I need to be. So I don't see anything up here. It's kind of all about selling cars. Let me see if I can browse through and find a spot where they talk about careers. Down at the bottom. Okay. So a lot of times they'll have it across that top toolbar. If you don't find it there, look at the bottom. Now we have an About Toyota section. I might have to zoom in a little bit here. It's down at the bottom. Careers. Our company. That's a good way to find out more about their company. Toyota Worldwide. Things where they're talking about who they are, etc. These are great ways to research any employer that you're thinking about working for. So Toyota.com, USA Careers. Okay, so I just went to careers. They've actually got it titled Mobility for All, and they've even got a little video to watch. Let's say I pulled some information from this video. What I would do on my web share, the little articles that I was showing you a minute ago, I would actually change it. Instead of calling it careers, I'd call it Mobility for All if I used the video, right, to pull my information. What you want to try to do with those citations is direct your professor to where you got the info from. Fast facts. So see, they have little fast facts. These are not clickable. So these are just kind of some fast facts that you could pull. Life at Toyota. This looks like an interesting article. Leading the future with our people. Career possibilities. So now they've got an overview, different areas. If I was to click on join our team, if I was to click on, explore the possibilities, let's say, and browse jobs, right? And let's say I find one job that I like and that I'm interested in. See, they have tons. They're showing locations. I'm just going to go with the first one I see here. This is in USA, Texas, project analyst. Let me see if I can find, let's go with maintenance tech. That's something that some students might even be interested in. Maintenance tech. Here's the job title. Here's a description. So if I was going to document this, like on my back slide, like let's say this is one of the jobs I want to talk about when I do my presentation, I'm interested in this. You would want to say Toyota North America and maintenance tech for your title. Okay, so Toyota, and then maintenance tech as the title, and then give me the full URL. That way I can come back to this job title, right, and find it. Okay, I know that seems a little bit complicated, but rather than, again, you saw I had to click 3 or 4 times. Students who just have a back page and all they have on there is Toyota.com. I got all of my information at Toyota.com. It's like, well, I have to do a ton of browsing to find exactly where that came from. So the more you can give me the title of the exact page you were at, this exact URL link, the copyright, etc., you're giving credit to them, right? And then you're also helping me to just verify your information, okay? So I feel like that answers most of the questions students have. The only other questions that come up are about plagiarism, and that's very important. You don't ever want to copy and paste word for word. Like, you would not just copy this whole thing and paste it into your PowerPoint. That's called plagiarism. What you want to do is be very specific and try to word things into your own words as much as possible. Obviously, though, like TIG welding, MIG welding, there's only so many ways you can say that. You can spell out what those letters actually stand for. Those, if I have any welders in the group, you know what I'm talking about. But that's not going to count as plagiarism if you say they're looking for, a MIG welder. That's just basic. They need somebody who can handle equipment, things like that. But try your best to put it in your own words on your PowerPoint so that you've got only 3 or 4 bullets per slide or whatever, and it's easy to follow, and it's obviously your work, okay, to avoid plagiarism. With that, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to one more tab here, and I'm going to go to scc.spokane.edu. And I'm going to show you the tutoring page. So from the main college homepage, you go to For Our Students, Getting Help, which is right here in the center. And then we've got tutoring. Okay, so there's counseling if you need it, all kinds of different forms, IT, which students run into IT problems occasionally, tutoring. Now, they have different options. They have online tutoring. What I suggest is, if you've got a busy schedule, go ahead and click on this and explore that, because you can email them a copy of the assignment that the instructor sent you, and then a copy of the work that you've done, and get their comments on, here's what the assignment is, and here's the work I've done, and get their comments on it, okay? They have writing tutors. You can totally use the writing tutors to help you with the material you've put together for your PowerPoint. They also have the drop-in schedules of like when they're open on campus. They've also got computer labs. So if you're having trouble with your home computer or something like that, you've got access to computer labs. And then again, you can click on these different options and follow the steps to try to get help with what you need. This one is not so much for our class, the adult basic education, but any of these other options that you click on, you would be able, it will direct you to how you can get help, whether that's in person or whether that's from a distance. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video. But again, I just kind of feel like it's helpful for students if the professor has a word on why are we doing this assignment? Why is it important? What is it I'm looking for? I think students get scared. It is a 200-point assignment, big assignment, so take it seriously. But again, I try to emphasize this with students. I'm not trying to fail anybody out of leadership skills class. You know, hopefully everybody passes. The times when students don't pass leadership skills is when they don't do the work, when they haven't done a PowerPoint at all. They don't show up on presentation days. They don't complete the assignment and have to give them a 0 for a 200-point assignment. That's usually when we run into like failed classes and things like that. So give it your very best. You kind of got the outline there of what we're looking for in order to get an A grade. Okay. So try for that. If it's not perfect, just understand that, you know, it's a good exercise. Okay. And again, I'm going to try not to, you know, fail anyone unless it's just very poor work that's submitted. Okay. I try to award as many A grades as I possibly can. Lastly, we will be doing these over Zoom. If you are a Zoom or an online class, it's a Zoom presentation day. So watch your emails. I'll be sending out emails saying, hey, let me know what days would be best for you. And if you don't let me know, I'll just assign you to a day type of thing. So we'll have 3 or 4 different choices of days and times for when students are going to present live on Zoom. Have a great day, everyone. And thanks for watching this video.